Hello, everybody. My name is Ravi Hamdani. I'm a software engineer here at GDT with the Agile Operation team. So today we'll be talking about MVC frameworks. So this is the agenda. We're going to discuss what is MVC, the structure, the workflow, advantage of using MVC, and I'll give you a small example where we use MVC here at GDT. Okay, so what is MVC? So MVC stands for Model View Controller. Is an architectural pattern that separate application to three main logical components. And basically, it's kind of like the level of software in keep them isolated for easy maintenance. What is that supposed to mean? So when you design your software, you're trying to separate it or kind of like design it into three main logical things. Let's say you're checking your email, and especially web application. Let's say you're checking your emails, so you go to your email, you sign in, you want to get all the emails in there. So you have the front end, which is the views. You have the back end, which is the controller and the module. The module work as a database. Controller works as a logical or it will do your business logical computes in there. So I will go through each structure and I will show you what's model, view, and a controller. Okay, so the model. The model again is the basic architecture for your database or storage. And I'm gonna go a bit technical in here by looking at this function. And of course, this is PHP. This is using CodeIgniter. This method, it's asking to go select all companies. And right now, right here, we actually going and selecting a query. So it's saying select from the database that company, which is a company database, a company table, the ID, and again, select the name, selecting again from the actual table, and then grouping by the name. And then we returning all the results back to whoever calling this function. Views. So views will actually have all your HTML, JS, JavaScript, CSS, anything that goes on the front side. The views will host it. And looking at the code again, you notice we have the style, which is the CSS. So what I'm doing here, I'm telling, hey, that div, that box in here that's gonna show all companies, give it a background color, which is red. Give it like a red background color. And then what we're doing is we're looping. I know we're using inline embedded PHP. You can still use PHP inside your views. In MVC. I created a bullet point, a UL, and then we have a LI, and I'm saying, hey, go print me every single name inside that array. So it's gonna go like, listen, GDT, Verizon, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, we have a script. I just put like an example for here. You can run JavaScript. All it's saying is, hey, alert JavaScript. So you can still run JavaScript within your views. Controllers, and I think this is the heart of your MVC framework. It will hold all business logics, all every single like computes in there will be inside the controller, and the controller will work as the kind of like the interface between the views and the module itself. Looking at the public function in the index, which is, let's say we're calling /company. GDT/company. What we're telling the system here on this page, print all companies. So we created an array, or think about it as a container that's gonna host everything for you, all the names. I'm calling the view, the module, which is the company model, and going back, that's the company model. I'm calling this function. I'm getting the result from this function and saving it into a container, and then I'm sending it back to the view. And this is your view. The company in here is your data array, and you will notice it. I'm passing it here as the data. So data array, I'm passing it back to the controller. So the controller will do at the end, it will just push everything back to the views. Views is what the client's gonna see. So you're not gonna see any modules, you're not gonna see any controllers. This is all on the back end, that process. I mean, people think that's only like, it's HTML. Everything is, is created on the front end, but everything actually mainly is gone to the back end, which is the controller engine module. This is the workflow. So I based that workflow off CodeIgniter, Zend framework, Laravel, So we have something called routing. Before we used to create, when you go check a website, you used to have .html at the end, .php or something. So routing will get rid of those dot something at the end. You don't need it anymore. You can do routing using the MVC framework. Some of them have the actual routing inside. Or you can use the actual web server, which is Apache, for example, use mode rewrite for you. What routing is doing in here, I'm saying, hey, go to let's say clearview.com/companies. So automatically the routing will check it out, will say, what is companies? Companies is companies.php in the back end. It will send it to the controller, which is companies controller. The companies controller will check, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get all companies. It will send everything back to the module, go into the database, select everything that belongs to these companies, and then send them back to the controller. And the controller back all the way to the views. The views is your, whatever you see on the screen, is the HTML. And then, of course, the views will be rendered on the screen for you. Look, a lot of people use different type of MVC. I mean, MVC was module, view, controller. Right now, we have module, view, controllers. We have helpers. We have libraries. And it's all derived from object-oriented approach. It was made for object-oriented approach. It's kind of like a class and the inheritance from that class, or the instance or object instance from that class. This is how the MVC framework works. And I'm going to tell you a bit about the example. So actually, advantages of using model view controller. I'm going to read them and then I'll explain it a little bit. So faster development process. So MVC support rapid and parallel development. You don't need, you can put one programmer on the view, another programmer on the controller, and another programmer using the front end. So you can have front end developer, you can have a back end developer which take care of PHP, for example, or Python. And then you can have a DBA, which is a person who's going to write all those queries, what we're trying to do in there. And of course, MVC for web application, it's 3 times faster than normal development. Ability to provide multiple views. So let's log into Clearview. I might have a different role than normal users. So I can see admin side. Another user cannot see the admin side, depends on the role. So in MVC, you can assign one controller to different views in there. So you can create a couple of views, one controller, and then the controller in there will do the logic, check my credential. Hey, this person has a role of admin, so I'm gonna send them to this view. This person has a role like a normal user, we'll send them a different view as well. It supports asynchronous technique. That's this is the trend right now. Node.js, and other programming language. It make it load very fast. That's asynchronous. MVC module return the data without formatting. So instead of returning views as HTML, instead of seeing something on the screen like graphical things on your computer screen, sometimes we're doing a request to return JSON. You can still return JSON, and we have a lot of these things in Clearview. We build the app using API, so you can create API and then attach web services to post, and then get a response as JSON. So you can use MVC in this way. Of course, when we use MVC in this way, we get rid of views in there. SEO friendly, because we're not putting .php, .html, or anything in front of the URL, that's considered SEO friendly. So the routing will make it SEO friendly. All right, so we built Clearview off CodeIgniter. It's an MVC framework, and it's not following the 100% MVC. They added a lot of other stuff in there. They added libraries, helpers. They added the routing, so you don't need the web server to do the routing for you. Now they added another folder in there that you can do your own routing. they added classes in there that they're already there, so you can so they can help you do the programming. What else is using MVC? We created idea management system that is coming soon, and we created a manufacturing website. Both of them using the MVC framework, and that's Zend built on Drupal. So Drupal is a CMS that uses Zend framework to actually follow the MVC framework, MVC pattern. We have Django. It's a Python. So I think it's going right now. MVC is everywhere. So we have Django that follow 100% the MVC framework, but it doesn't use this controller, which is the C at the end. The framework itself will do the logical stuff for you. Yeah, that's pretty much everything about MVC. If y'all have any questions. Honestly, there's no version of MVC. It's kind of a pattern or the design you should follow. But there is latest version of frameworks like CodeIgniter, for example. You got Zend framework. So they built how I'm gonna say a template for you with folders. It says controller, module, views, and then other libraries in there, so it can help you. So let's say login. You don't need to go and write all your credential, like the code so you can log into the system. They have a library in there. But as again, they have something for you, for companies. As taken an example, you can go to the controller folder, create companies.php as your controller, go to the module, create company_module, and the views, add HTML in there. So there's no version, to be honest with you. There's frameworks going into versioning the thing. So. That depends actually on how I'm gonna say, it depends on the framework. What they mean by the framework. You know what I mean? There is MVT, there is MVI, which is more into JavaScript. So look, everybody will tell you, hey, I know MVC the right way, but there's no right way for it. It started as MVC, and now everybody trying to branch it. But I don't know if there's versioning. I'm not really aware of it. But I know that frameworks are doing the versioning. So before CodeIgniter was 2, now it's free. Zend framework as well. So yeah. Yes. MVC, yes. Yes. So yeah, Microsoft actually use I think the ASP.NET 2, right? Yeah, they're using MVC frame 3. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Angular. I'm not really sure about Django, but I know they're using MVT framework. Here we go. It's the Python. Yeah.
All right. So the question was, which is better, Flask or Django? And those are both Python libraries for delivering web services. And Flask is really a very lightweight, quick kind of prototyping library for developing web services. And that's typically how it's used. It can be consumed underneath a web browser or something like that to provide web services, but it needs a lot of extra baggage, so to speak, to make it into a true kind of web server-ish type environment. Django, on the other hand, is a full-fledged MVC framework like Robbie's talking about, which means it comes with all sorts of different kinds of templating and modules for like user logins and that sort of thing. It's just much more robust and traditionally has been the de facto standard for web development in Python. Now, having said all of that, I will tell you that here at GDT, we focus on Flask because we do so many small projects that all have some sort of web-based component. It's just easier for us than carrying around the full heavy Django framework. It's a great question. Thank you, Ashish.
to add on this, I would not recommend building a small application using MVC. So if your application, it's gonna be like a couple of pages, I would just go ahead and create a normal, like use a Flask, for example. But if you have an application that's gonna extend in the future, you're gonna add more to it, and a lot of people are going to use it, I would honestly use MVC framework, like Django. All right. Anybody else? All good? All right. Thank you very much.